What's going on, everybody? It's Seamus and Marcos in the house.
What's up,
This is
y'all?
episode 17. How you feeling, Marcos? How you feeling?
Oh man, slowly about to be a third of the way to our goal, right? Or are we
Yeah,
over it? We're at a third, I think.
I would say
One at
we're at a
52.
third. And yeah,
Yeah,
guys, our biggest goal is to give value, give everything we can on the Macro Perspective podcast here about health, longevity, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle. Have a bigger picture, but able to also at the same time have a conversation that's nuanced to allow you to make decisions for yourselves. And I think Marcos and I are doing an okay job. Let us know. You can comment that below. But today, Marcos, what we were going to talk about was our own top three performance habits, and then we
yes,
got our
sir.
usual, product of the week content of the week and icon of the week. But why don't you start with yours first? I got some notes here. Marcos, your top three. I'll let you do it, and I'll go do mine.
All right, cool. So, my number one, wake the up early. Wake the f up early.
How
That's
early? How early?
early. Um, you know, for me, it's 4:30, and here's the reason why. Actually, you know what? I'll hold off on that. We'll come to that. Let me read all three of mine. You do your three, and then we can go touch on them one by one. So,
Yeah.
wake the f up early. Learn to delegate your tasks is number two as a high performance habit.
Mm.
Like tasks that should be, almost subbed out to somebody else. And again, professionals are professionals in their area for a reason. You do not need to do everything on your own. And
Yeah.
read more slash invest in yourself, or read more for investing in your education in yourself. So those are my top three. Seamus, what about you?
So my top three. So I'll go deeper into these, but it's breath work on the hour. Um, I'll just leave it at that. That's like the cadence. So, little mystery. We'll leave it there for a minute, and then mindset. But more so self talk in times of tiredness and having to psych yourself up to change your mood. So changing that state. So it's similar to the breath work, but it's more the internal story. And then my last one really is the anticipation of needs in your calendar and in your time. So if you're on a specific kind of goal, how do you schedule your non-negotiables and what constraints do you have? And then Rachel, our I'll just say producer up in here, is
Yeah.
what kind of accountability tips do we have around that? How do we increase our NEAT, which is our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, throughout the day to move well and often? So those are there. But why don't you go into yours a little bit? The wake up early, wake the f up early, guys.
Wake the f up early. Yeah, self censoring the day. Um, yeah. So 4:30 is the wake up time, like I said a few minutes ago. And realistically, what I'm finding on days that I will sleep in a little bit and not give myself that time on my rest days to at least like go out for a walk and just do some reflection or some reading or whatever it is that I don't get that time back in the day because as a father, you just you run out of time, and the most recent one that I slept in a little bit was after my flight home from DC, and I stayed up. I slept. I got home at like midnight, and I slept until 7. So like normal hours for the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole day was just like, just constantly scrambling to catch up. My meal planning was off, and I attributed that to just not getting up early. Granted, 4.5 hours of sleep didn't make sense, right? Um,
Yeah.
so that was the most recent bout. But then the one that happened before that was I slept until 7 o'clock, right?
Body
And
needed it. Body needed it.
well, I mean, I woke up and I'm like, "Ah, I should go for the walk. It's a little cold today. I made that excuse, and my head got into my own head. And what I then realized was same thing happened. It's like because I put off just doing that thing, which helps me get into my routine of the day. Even though the daily routine is really not the same, but just like getting the day going, I felt like I was playing catch up all day. So every time I keep doing it and I'm not waking up early, I'm playing catch up because I have no time for myself. And when I have everything
Yeah.
done for myself early on in the day, the rest of the day is smooth sailings.
It really is. I agree. I 100% agree. I wake up around 4:30 as well, 5 o'clock. Um, I like to train in the morning kind of thing, And we were talking about like kind of morning routines and stuff on the previous episode. I don't do the whole crazy morning routine thing anymore where I used to meditate, do breath work, Wim Hof stuff, go into an ice bath, and then go do my workout. It's like, dude, it took an hour to get just somewhere. I wake up, I journal for like 2 minutes, and then I get to my workout. So it's really quick. With that being said, like if I don't wake up early, I, just being real with you, like feel weird and feel off. And not that if I don't do it, like things aren't gonna work. Like I'm still gotta go to work. I still gotta pay the bills. I still gotta be effective, Seamus. You know what I'm saying? But just preference wise, I'd rather get my workout done out of the way first because it fills me up. I know I got that done, and I don't have to be like, okay, what things happened today? Oh, client called me. Oh, this happened. This fire came on at work. A little fire, maybe, I don't know. But so, as time progresses, for me, things can get crazy and you won't get to the gym the time you wanted. Your energy is not where it's at. You're going crazy on the caffeine. I just personally feel like that first hour for me, and he doesn't have to wake up. You don't have to wake up at 4:30 like we are doing, guys. It's just maybe that first hour or so is just for you to get the big stuff done for yourself. If you can make that happen, you know what I'm saying? Whether that is or making that time a non-negotiable. I feel like that's where I get my best workouts in, and I feel like I don't have to put energy on my mind of like, oh shoot, I gotta go work out tonight. I gotta go work out tonight. Then something else happened. The lady that it's just I don't feel like I'm playing catch up or feel like there's a big constraint for me.
That's exactly it. You don't feel like you're perpetually just like kicking the can and like moving things all day, right? And
Yeah.
when you're ahead of the day, you are ahead of all of your requirements of the day, and you just feel so much better, like you're checking everything off your checklist, right? And yeah, that's why it's so important. And it doesn't have to be 4:30. But if you're like,
Yeah.
well, I've been wanting to be the person that wakes up and then gets into my workout routine. Well, you start by waking up and then start by just doing something that's like so simple, like putting your shoes on and then going out the door, because you'll eventually instill like that high performance habit of being able to then hopefully get to the gym. And I mean, again, whether it's a walking habit, early wake up time, all those things, you have to put the whole day together appropriately. Waking up early means going to bed at a good hour, right? So you're like, oh, I shouldn't be staying up till 11 o'clock watching Netflix. Yeah, because 5.5 hours may not be enough, and you feel groggy. And you know, that that's why it's a high performance habit. You want to be moving yourself forward, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
just be staying the same. And same thing
Yeah.
like you're saying, James, like that early morning workout, everybody like, why are you doing it? Even on Saturday, Sunday, you wake up at 4:30 and go get it done? Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
then I don't have to worry about it the rest of the day.
I
So
mean,
what
I
I
might
have
have to sleep in
yeah,
until like 5:36 on those days just cause, but I still
yeah.
get it done as soon as it's like my Saturdays and Sundays look exactly like my Monday and Tuesday. Just kind of
But
keep
for
it
all the
the same.
fathers out there or new fathers to be or people that have kids, they understand, that time in the afternoon as they get older is no longer going to ever be your time. So if you don't start now while they're young when it is difficult, you probably won't do it in the future, because now you're like, oh, we got to go take them to baseball and baseball night is late. It's like, yeah, it's late, but it's still like you're not getting home so late. Like most, young kid activities, they probably are done and back home by 9:30, 10 at the latest. Like,
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and once you won't be missing days because you know how good you feel. That day you wake up and you have to scale back a little bit. I mean, so what? You showed up though. You know what I mean? Like, that's. I watched this video recently. The guy's like, I'm just not feeling it today. But you know what? Like, it's like when you see that storm and that storm is coming, you can either be like, insert the animal I can't remember here, or like the buffalo. He's like, in the buffalo, they just head down straight through the storm. So be the buffalo. And I was like, that's a dope
Dude,
quote, because that's every morning.
that's a
Some
dope
mornings you
quote.
wake up,
Yeah.
be the buffalo. Be the buffalo, man.
Hey, that should be the Buffalo reel. Like, hey, what we're gonna make a reel real quick. Put the buffalo down. Be like the buffalo, right? There's a storm coming. Put your head down. Be the buffalo. I mean, this is the same thing. It's the same thing for me. I woke up hella tired today. It's hump day. It's
Mhm.
Wednesday when we're recording this, and it's leg day. So I put leg day right in the middle of the most. For most people, hump day is like where you're you're tired, you've had a few days of work, right? It's the middle of the week, but I put my leg day right there. And that Buffalo quote makes sense because I said, all right, if you don't get that leg day in, you're kind of screwed because now you're not going to get leg day for another week, right? So for me, I put that constraint of like waking up early. I got my leg day. I absolutely have to do it. Yes, I did not want to get up. Trust me, my lady she put in some new Flux lights that are like 10,000 Flux or something like that. Put them on and I was like, yo, is the sun in this damn room? But you know what? It did the trick. I have the alarm clock across the room. I got to stand up and wake up. Trust me, I don't want to wake up on a Wednesday, on a leg day. But when I'm getting into it, because the first 10, 15 minutes of that workout sucks. It's a Stairmaster, by the way. I just start that off. I'm in it 30 minutes. I'm like, dude, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. And it's kind of like warming up the car engine before you can get out of bed. It's a new car. It takes 2 minutes to warm up. Now I'm kind of like a car in a storm, like we were talking about. It's like a winter storm. It takes about like 30 minutes. Get the oil on. Just a little bit, So that's where I'm at when it comes to the early wake up time.
That's too funny, man. And the thing too is like going into my second topic here with like delegation of additional items, and offloading things on your plate when you can. Obviously, this is something that takes anybody that's like entrepreneurial or even in your normal job a lot of time to really figure out. And this has been something, even in a conversation with our other coworker, he's like, man, like you have your own business on the side. How do you do that? And I'm like, I learned that when I never wanted to do this on my own, but I knew if I had to, I would have to trust people, which is a really hard skill, right? Because they aren't you. They won't create it exactly how you want it. But if they get you 90% of the way there, eventually they might be at 95 or 99. And even if it's not perfect, at least it's getting done. The consistent effort of getting stuff done is far more important in every landscape than in being perfect. So again, like you just said, getting to that morning workout, sometimes it's like, I got East Coast people, got to send some messages at 5 a.m. So I'm doing that. We're going through the first 15 minutes where it's mobility, getting ready, like getting the mind and the body just prepared to handle load. Funny enough, Wednesday is also leg day for us. But when you finally get into that groove and the caffeine hits, you're like, all right, it's time to hit it.
But delegation is important. Yeah, no, I think, you want to buy back your time, especially as you're a father. Like for me, like, I'll use us, for example. Like we got logos, we got shorts, we got these things, we're talking about media, reels and stuff, delegating that's important. We've had a big conversation about this earlier. And it's like, I'm not an expert in those things. And, I may like a video to look a certain way, but hey, Seamus, like you could do the whole video expertise things and go through some courses or whatever, or you could just delegate it to someone with 15 years plus experience that knows exactly what they're doing, get it done for you real fast. And then it like performs much better than you ever think. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that works.
and that speaks volumes because like when you become, I think the most recent video that we'll have posted at this point, we'll talk about turning pro and no longer being an amateur. This is very much so something that is, is required to turn pro. Like you can put so much on your plate, but then you run out of hours and then you lose sight of the morning stuff that keeps you balanced. And therefore, like I have learned, again, like if it comes to like, I hate the word scaling because I don't want to scale anything. I want to be doing right by the people I work with. But nonetheless, like if I want to be more effective, I need to get these little things in place. And you know what, man, all the little projects that we've done up to this point and all the little projects I've done in my own business have helped me learn like, wow, like there's something being created and all it cost me was money. Right. Like,
no, exactly. And you can make more money. And talking about money and financially being like fiscally responsible, I think we said this like a billion times on the podcast. Like all my clients, I tell them literally like it is fiscally irresponsible for you because we have high-end clients. I have high-end clients, high work clientele like that. They're making money. And people that are watching this, you can do this too. You can find something. Have someone do your meal prep for a week. Like look at how much that spent. Dude, it takes me what? If I go to the grocery store, my girlfriend wants to do this. Next thing you know, we're at Target and it's like, you went to Target for one thing, but you got 15 things, and then now you're doing the prep and then the prep takes a while and then you got the dishes and then you got to, it's like that's like a 9-hour work week, work day, and it's like a work week. What's the stats? It's like a work week per month to do your own prep with the dishes, groceries, and everything. Okay,
Oh yeah.
how about you just delegate that? The first thing I did was I delegated my groceries. I don't go grocery shopping, brother. Like, I just send that on Amazon on reoccurring every Saturday it comes. Okay, cool. The second step
Yeah.
was, okay, well, I don't really want to meal prep anymore. So I stopped doing the groceries except for a few things. I'm just gonna go get that person to do the meal prep for me. It comes on Sunday. I mean, I can still do my meal prep. It's not on and off, but for a lot of my clients, guess what? For them, it's on. And what I'd say roughly between 250 to 450 per week at most. When that person probably can make, that's 30 hours of like dishes, clean, cooking, all sent about 250 to 450. That's 30 hours. That's 30 hours back to them where they can make 30 times as much on the hour of whatever their hourly rate is. So yeah, like
Dude, that
delegate the
is
meal prep.
delegate. Learn to delegate tasks, right? Again, and
Um,
that way you free up more of your free time and have fun with it. And that was like your hack right there. I don't personally don't do that. I like
you like the cooking, yeah.
I like the relaxation that I get from shopping sometimes. Like it's like, and the other day was with me and my son and he's picking stuff out. Dad, can I get this? Can I get that? And he's a very finicky eater. So I'm like, thumbs up, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I do have a client that mentioned, dude, I don't go shopping. I've been on Amazon, Amazon, the Whole Food, Amazon Fresh. It all comes from Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, that's it's a genius hack. I think it is cheaper to get your food from Amazon Fresh with your Prime delivery if you have a Prime membership than going
Yeah.
into Whole Foods. I'm like, wait, these prices look lower than what I saw today. And he's like, yeah, that's like the best kept secret about Amazon Fresh. I'm like, dude, all right. So
It's the
there's,
best.
I mean,
That's why I do it like that. Another one on hacking for delegation. This has nothing to do with meal prep, but just like
yeah,
delegation. I'm playing with this a little bit, but one of my clients told me this, and I've been seeing this around because there's this book called Buy Your Time, but then some people are talking about it. They're like, go on TaskRabbit and have someone else clean your place. And I was like, oh,
we have a
that
cleaning
feels
day
kind of
every
weird.
2
Like,
weeks.
yeah, exactly. Like that feels kind of weird, like to have someone clean. He goes, and he goes, like, my hour costs this much. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to clean my place. Oh, and by the way, I suck at cleaning. He's like, I suck at cleaning. This person comes in for $30 on the hour, or like $60 on the hour, and they do a better job cleaning like my bathroom than I'll ever do in my entire life. And I was like, and then I could take that hour and I got my client calls or something like that. And it's like, huh,
Mm.
that makes sense. There's a lot that you can delegate, You get the dog
There-
walk, get your house clean, get your meal. I don't know, just delegate, play with it.
dude. And I forgot that I did that. I ordered meal prep for like the busiest month of my life, doing 100 virtual check-ins and it was rough and I had no time. I'm like, oh my God, like this is all I have 100 in my inbox. Like, how am I going to handle this? And the first thing I did was like, well, if I can be eating good food and at least focus on like that, I may not be working out this week because I'm not used to this volume. Um, then things will be good. And sure enough, like it actually ended up freeing up more time because I got all my shit done and then I had free time. So like
Yeah,
again, like, and at the end of the day, maybe it was all of $2 more per meal. I don't know. Like that's the beauty
yeah,
of it. Is you could buy enough volume from somebody that eventually they're gonna go above and beyond for you. I actually had that person. Again, this is why you work with small businesses. I had that person reach out to me. Hey, you didn't put an order in this week. Do you want to get it in? And I was like, oh, I missed the deadline. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I thought I had to wait till next week. He's like, I'm not going to turn down your $400 or $500 worth of volume because, you missed it by a day. Like, get it into me right, like in the next hour. And sure enough, you know what I
there it
mean?
is.
There it is.
Yeah,
Like
and that's
life
the thing
becomes
too.
easier as you delegate.
They have that, and the small businesses are the backbone of this country, and they're gonna do that with you. We had one down the street from us, and they're called like in Chatsworth, California. It's called the oh my gosh, I'm blanking, but it's called like Mac. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna Google this real quick. I want to see this list, but it's um oh my gosh, they're great. Muscle and macros, so good.
Mm.
And that's where I got like a lot of my oatmeals because they had the cookies and cream oatmeal and they could just pick it up. But they're really great, and they were down the street and they'd come and they're driving out here, which is further than where we were living before, and it's like they'd come on a Wednesday. I was like, wow, but it really does. Delegation is, some people can argue, right, Marcos, where it's like, oh hey, like Why would I want to delegate? I do like to do those things. I'm like, you may like to do some of these things 100%, but how much time do you have in your day? If you're a high performer, you're running a small business, you're a person that's busy at work, you've got kids, wouldn't you want that time back a little bit for yourself? Whether you can take that time instead of that hour of meal prep, you can do something else with your kids, or yeah, maybe you could do the meal. There's always going to be an argument. There's always going to be an argument. It's like, I could do that myself. I could do. Yes, I agree. But if you
Should you?
feel like,
Or
yeah,
you
if
can always do it on your own, but should you?
you're
I think when it comes to the
that's
first time
there you go.
doing something, the first time you do something, or the first time you see something and you don't know how to do it, you should probably go try to do it. So then you know what you're paying for. That's why
Yeah,
delegation is so important, right? Because like when you first try it, like, dude, it took me an 8-hour day to make one post. I sub
dude.
out, make a video now to get edited by somebody else, and it takes me all of 1 minute. Now I have to pay money to do that, but I'm also now attentively on my schedule for phone calls, right?
Yeah.
So again, my ROI then is like at that 1 hour, I'm only making, I don't know, $45 in that hour versus 60 or whatever it is. But the rest of the day is me dedicated towards that, like whatever that dollar amount is, right? And that's opportunity cost in a nutshell, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, again, like not a lot of people are familiar with economics. Like, they may have not even taken it because it's not a requirement. But like that's the one thing I remember from the economics class was
Yeah,
literally
dude.
that opportunity cost. And now as you see it in real life, it's like, oh, duh. Like, yes, I love doing this thing, but should I do it? That's the question I ask about everything.
Yeah, that's the
Should I?
thing is like, yeah, should I? Like, yeah, sure, you love being in the kitchen, but like, if you're stressed out of your mind and you want to do other things, it's like there there's options. There's options. If you're struggling and it's like, what I think someone said it too at the delegation is like, because he wasn't spending time with his kids. He's like, dude, I have someone babysitting, and then I have to go, like, I pay someone the babysitter, but then I go mow the lawn. And then the guy laughed. He's like, why don't you have someone paid to mow the lawn so you can hang out with your kids? And he's like, never thought about it like that. So it's like there's the shoulds and like could. So yeah, just think about delegation, guys. Look at the areas of your life like where you're like, yeah, it's good, but like if it's something that you're comfortable with, someone in your house, whether it's cleaning, someone meal prepping, um, you know, think about it. Delegation is important. That's how you have some of those constraints, and then yeah,
Well, this ties into your number two, though. Like, if your mind isn't right, right? If your mindset
yeah,
isn't there, right? Like, again, like, I mean, we both picked unique things here. I like you make your list of three, I make my list of three. I was like, hopefully we don't have anything that like cross references. They do to a degree, right? But like that's why I'm excited for your number two, right?
yeah. Well, my number two, I don't even think I talked about number one real quick. I'll talk about
Oh,
what
you're
real
supposed to put
quick
the
with the
rest
number
on the
one.
hour.
Yeah, so my first one, and I'll talk about number two. We'll bring it back to this. So a little mystery there, guys. Breathwork on the hour. Now, what does that mean? I'm not talking about like the whole Wim Hof taking the 30 deep breaths, inhale, outhale for this. Like, I literally just mean, since we're talking about time right now, most people have a job where they're meeting with people, on the hour, whether you're a sales guy, whether you're dealing with clients like we are, or you have your hours divvied up. Maybe you're a teacher. I don't know. But I think it's important that on the hour you take like 3 to 10 deep breaths and just check in. You don't even have to check, just do the deep breaths. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just really calm that nervous system down. I think that for me, I've been doing that for years. I learned that from two things. One, I learned that from wrestling, because in wrestling, you can get thrown off, and it's like you've got to learn how to like manage your state ASAP. Like, and just my breath was the fastest way for me to find presentness. And then second, I learned that from like the Wim Hof method when the first kind of sets of Wim Hof came on. My brother took the course. I think it was like 2015, and then I got to meet Wim Hof like a few years later. Obviously, he does like more of an intense kind of breathing, and then he does the ice breathing. I'm not saying do any of that. I'm just saying on the hour, can you find a way to take a deep breath, really open up those lungs, kind of check in, kind of put a blunt on some cortisol. And for me, that performance wise throughout the day, I do that throughout the day just normally. As I transition, I'm in my car. Oh, I'm in at home now. Oh, I'm gonna take a few deep breaths to be at home, not going from at home in the car and then going,
Hmm.
it's just so easy to go from one thing to the next without having the transition of taking that deep breath. So that's what I do. I really love that because it brings you back to the present moment. Marcos, it just really does.
It's good. I think so. I mean, simple, it's easy, it's executable. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
essentially it's like a greasing of the groove technique when it comes to like learning any other skill. You do it on
Yeah.
the top of or every two, it could be like really good at resetting something or setting something up to be more proficient. So I've seen
Yeah.
this on the hour thing work well for people I've trained learning a new gymnastic skill. Hey, like you're gonna do
Yeah.
a support hold for and you do it every hour, and it was just another unique way of doing something to help you improve. So
Yeah.
I have I have to think if I have sit down and actually like do do that. I think for me it's like probably every two, maybe three, I do something that's like calming, that like takes me away, because otherwise it's like a million miles a minute.
You just go,
And
yeah, you go. If it's not on the hour, I just tell people on the transition times, like when
yeah,
you're driving
yeah,
to work, when you just had a big argument with someone on a phone call, can you take a moment before the next phone call? You know what I'm saying? Or hey, you're going from work to home. Take that time, decompress. It doesn't have to be exactly on the hour, but I just try to be preemptive. And then that kind of gets into what we're talking about, state change and mindset and self-talk. So
mhm,
mindset and self-talk, we can use that breath, but this is just totally different topic entirely. Is a lot of people that I've worked with, they've grown up with a certain set of beliefs and a certain sets of stories in their head, right? And these stories and these beliefs can sometimes be very self-serving, and it's gotten them to where they're at, very much so.
yeah,
And they are successful people. I look up to them, I admire them. Sometimes these stories don't serve that person anymore, and that self-talk doesn't serve that person anymore. I'll use myself as an example. I used to be very dark and very much beating myself up like Seamus. God damn, what is it you're doing? Step up. You're being lazy, whatever it was, just to throw myself underneath the bus. And anger and being passionate got me really amped up. It was great for a CrossFit workout. I would bust out clean sprints and rowing. Easy, Marcos. Easy. Because
mhm,
now I'm in an angry state. And I knew how to get myself there. But the problem was there's nothing to be angry about anymore, Seamus. There's nothing to be amped up about right now. That story is not changing up. So what I found is how can you use self-talk to change your mood? And I try to find more compassion within myself now throughout the day, throughout there. Let's use the workout example again. If you are in that workout mode, I've seen people in one workout just getting them state change lift from like maybe let's say 20 pounds overhead to like 35 pounds overhead. And people are like, how did you get someone in a session to go up 15 pounds? And they were tired. Like we were talking about being tired earlier today. They didn't get enough sleep because I psyched them up. We could have done breath work, but it was more about like just get in your damn head for a second and lift this thing up like your baby's on fire. I don't know. And so using those imaging cues, using those visualizations, using things like that to get you in the right mood. Another way I like to do it for the self-talk too, Marcos, is if a problem is being big, what I like to do is let's make the problem small. So I visualize the problem being small, literally small, or I'm getting away from the problem. So these are some like mental frameworks, self-talk methods that I do to help change my mood pertaining to that present moment, right? Whether it's I need to de-stress or I need to be stressed, whatever it is.
yeah. The sympathetic versus parasympathetic drives, man. I mean, to use the colloquialism of the coaches, right? But like fight or flight or relaxation, right? So I feel like that is controlling those states are tough sometimes for people, but when you do kind of master that, that mindset, self, and it is kind of going back to self talk. I
Yeah.
talked to my wife about this the other day, and she's like, "Have you met anybody that constantly feeds the anxiety rabbit hole?" And I'm like, You're if there was a if you were a professional sport in it, you would get the crown, no doubt." I like this. Why can't I just let it go? I'm like, well, it's like, how do you just not like care? I'm like, it's not that I don't care. It's just that like I don't want the mind to be thinking about all the what ifs, And I'm like, what if I wake up tomorrow and I feel normal? I'm gonna write on that. And again, too, like I take the sickness things very seriously, and they're just again, but it's a self talk and it's a mindset thing. So,
I think
hey,
one of those things that the self-talk that I see with patients, and I'll kind of use this with patients and clients, is there's too much noise going on, and they blame and make a lot of excuses, and they just go to that same conversation in my head. Seamus, I'm way too busy. Like, oh, my wife doesn't want to do this, or you know, it's just too rough with my kids, and it's the same story that they've told in their head. So I
yeah,
always have to ask them, like, how would it look for it to be the opposite of exactly what you just told me? Oh, my wife isn't bothering me. My wife's on board. Or, hey, yeah, you know what? My kids are supportive. It's actually not that hard. It's the same story, just from a different angle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, my kids, bother, they take up too much of my time. It's like, actually, my kids give me more free time. Just taking that same exact story that you told in your head, instead of going to a default, finding a way to change that talk in your head. What are those languages that you say in your head constantly, and catching yourself and going like, because the more that you give it power, that self-talk, it becomes a fact. It becomes a fact, and it becomes a belief, and it just becomes ingrained in you. So it's your natural reoccurring. If I asked you, Marcos, like, hey, let's go ahead and start working out, and you're a person that's like, I'm busy, your first response is like, I'm busy, man. Like,
I tell myself
but
I'm
are
never
you?
too
But
busy.
are you really? But are you really?
Never too busy. No, I'm always have no plans intentionally, but always go with the flow, be like water type of person. So,
Yeah.
I never feel like I'm too busy, even though people will ask that question, where do you find the time? I'm like, I just make it, there's always time to have conversation, talk to people and get everything else that you need to get done. Or again, too, like some days you just have to be like, you know what? Going back to the first thing, wake up early, get the thing done, then I don't have to worry. But
Yeah.
again, soon as there is a variable of another person and human being involved, it tends to not go as planned. And that's my number one. Because I had a few days when I was in DC with our patients, and guess what? Couldn't go to the gym because I had it that took priority. Was I mad about it? No, because I knew I couldn't get up any earlier. The gym wasn't even open. I'm like, not only is it 2 a.m. my time to go to the gym that early, but it's like I have to be ready to go like work. So, okay, what's 2 days off? It's nothing. It's like got the rest of the
If
year
anything,
to
it's
like
positive.
it
Body
was. I
love
came
it.
back like, all right, I
But
feel
yeah,
really good. I felt like I was ecstatic to get back into the gym on Saturday after having like 3 days off. So,
exactly. So your
you know,
self-talk is great. Like, you have a more of like a laid back, follow the flow, make the time. Other people, they just, like I said, they have a story in their head that they've been doing constantly. And anytime that they're challenged with something, they just go back to that default story. And it may not be true. So my biggest thing, my takeaway is like, your self-talk, everyone listening on here, see what things you say all the time to yourself and see if it's true. Or it's just something you believe so much now that it's part of you. And if it's not serving you anymore, try to make it smaller. Try to get away from it, figuratively in your head. Try to psych yourself up out of it. All these different things. And your self-talk, your mindset, it needs to be challenged if it's not serving you anymore.
no doubt, kill the clone. Move on, kill the clone so you can get somewhere new. That's it.
100%. What's your third one?
Well, this was me killing my clone. I'm not a person that I'd identify as a person that doesn't read. I don't need reading. What's the purpose? I can just like listen to something. What I found with what I found with reading is like it's the experience of it. It's something tangible. Everything in modern society exists in a digital space. It's like the computer dies, it re-exists somewhere else, right? But like that's why behind me you see, if you're watching this, like I have all of my books there as a constant reminder, like this is my new habit that I want to ingrain in myself. It is there, it's in my environment. And reading more is, again, if I get one thing out of the book, it's done its purpose, even though it was 300 pages deep, right? And all the while, it's like, I mean, like some people really enjoy reading, and I've never had anything to go off of. Hey, what are you reading? Or what have you read recently? So we can talk about it. Hey, remember in the book when it talked about X, and it just brings on better conversation. And I feel it's not about learning new words. It's not about learning relatively new ideas, but it's like, oh, I haven't heard it positioned that way, and that interests me. Um, so
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and again, man, I heard so much stuff from Travis back in the day. Um, and so Travis is a good buddy of mine, passed away. about a year ago, for those who are maybe newer to this. And he, all the stuff is resurfacing in the literature I'm reading, even though he was like giving me the handouts with the shit on it. And I'm just like, if I would have just read more at that time, I probably would have known how to use this.
It is so funny you say that. So, like, getting my degree in exercise science, I read
Yeah.
so much stuff about. The biggest thing was like looking at VO2 and performance metrics in the lab and doing different things. And when it became part of my day to day, I understood it theoretically, but then when I saw that and then the handouts of the practicality of it, I was like, I never saw it like that before. I just theoretically, I was like, yeah, that's what VO2 is. And then now I see it day to day. And I'm like, this concerns me a lot more. Like, I should have really read up on this, and I read up more on it now. And I'm like, now I'm seeing it from a different angle. I think that's what reading does. It just, the best books have already been made. I think the best books, have been made hundreds of years ago. Some new books are great as well, and some various topics, but a lot of books are iterations of just the older concepts, just all that, but just from that person's perspective. And like, for example, you're talking about Travis. I know a lot of his material, and that was like hormonal health material or
and gut health,
material.
gut health and hormones. Yep.
And I read a lot about that literature in that setting of being in a degree in college. But that angle of it was so collegiate and so like very much, hey, I got to pass this paper.
Theory,
right?
It pump and dump mentality, get it in, regurgitate, forget.
With Travis, when he spoke to me, I was like, and he asked, and he would make you do practice handouts and go, how would you do this with a problem with a client? Here's a case study. Your client actually already has this. What are you doing? And I'm just like, wow, this is real. It's a different beast. It's a different beast when you read it from an angle of someone that is actually super proficient in it, and it's not just theory. It's amazing.
Yeah, and people make a living off of like getting their practices to be those things. So you can read into the people that see it time and time again. Again, you might need to take it with a grain of salt because their anecdote, eventually as they grow that niche, that's all they see, and they become maybe a little dogmatic in their approach. Everybody now has this thing. Everybody has this, and so again, the only way you can challenge that is to just read a bit more. And it doesn't, again, like some of the books I'm picking up are the ones that are speaking to me are really short, concise messages and are very easy reads, but I wasn't doing it before. I feel like that's been the biggest thing to help me keep my performance high. Again, early wake ups, delegating things, and reading. I mean, those are my big three going into 2023. So
I love it, man. Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll give my third in a second. I think reading is why I have contacts and glasses. I read so much when I was younger, trying to read like so many pages a day. My mom was a reader. She had all the Anne Rice books, all the Patterson books, and I read every single thing. Loved a lot of fiction. I read in the dark, and that's why I have glasses and contacts. But reading to me and doing all the autobiography, nonfiction stuff, it's just such a powerful thing. I would say, from being an avid reader, I would give you one thing, and this is to the audience: don't just read just to consume. Read in the spite that this stuff may actually work in your life. I know that I've read so much in my life that a lot of it is just kind of stored and irrelevant data, right? It's just irrelevant. But then a book comes along, like the book, and we're going to go into this content of the week. This is going to be our first, our segment is the new book, The Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes, by the way. Though that book has so many prompts, has so many practices, and I'm like, yeah, a book like this comes out once in a while, once in a blue moon, where not only does the book get indoctrinated into your body, but you actually do something with the book. So many books are just like, it's just data. Like, okay, what am I doing with that data? And you got to find books. So don't just read to consume so you can take action or change something in your life, right? So, but I'm going to talk about my number 2. Yeah.
But that's where I feel like when you like listen to somebody that speaks to you because you're listening to them, then take a look at their material. You're like, man, I really liked how they put that. And that's really how I've been picking up books is like, this person says that they were inspired by this person. This person was inspired by this person. And so you just build this chain of like, I see how they're viewing the world and why that was interpreting that way. So again, sometimes you'll pick up one that's random off the shelf You're like, hey, again, that UFO book I
Cool.
mentioned in the other podcast was in a book I picked up off the shelf because I liked the color of the cover, and I got that nugget in there. I was like, man, that story was really cool. And to buy that book, by the way, it's like $80. And I was like, I am not buying that. That's too expensive because that's like 7 other bucks.
Yeah. Just I'm gonna read this chapter. My last one, and we'll go into the content of the week. Anticipation of needs, how to schedule. So when it comes to performance habits, I have a word that I like to use. It's called auto regulation. If someone uses like a Whoop, an O-ring, you know what I'm talking about. This is understanding your load and your stress load, but being able to anticipate those needs with your life. That's why I went back to breath work, mindset, and self-talk. It all kind of leads up to this anticipating of the needs. As performance athletes in our day-to-day life, whether you're a CrossFit athlete, if you are an athlete, if you're just a person in the world of living, you are an athlete because you've got your kids, you got to go to work, your body is going through stress, your mind is going through. I think everybody is an athlete in one form, way or another. That's just being an athlete of life. Being able to anticipate the needs of yourself and going, okay, where in my schedule is the constraints, my non-negotiables? Like we talked about, waking up early, training. That's a non-negotiable because then the rest of my day is perfect. However, some
Yes.
people forget, right, Marcos, where do you schedule the check-in time with you? Do you check in maybe time with a therapist, check in time with your wife, check in the time with your massage therapist, you check in with something else? A lot of that checking in time dictates how well you're going to do into the rest of the week. So, for example, every 7 to 14 days, or even sometimes 2 to 7 days, depending on what I need, I do get a massage. I get a sports massage. I'll go see the chiro. I'll do cold exposure. I'll do heat exposure, sauna. I do something for recovery. It doesn't have to be all those things, all those niche things that are coming out now. It can even just be an hour of meditation or an hour nap, but some form of recovery to anticipate what you're doing and make it a non-negotiable. Like today for me, I spent an hour napping. And people are like, this kid, like I said, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. I made that time. The reason is I know that Thursday is going to be a bigger day. I know Friday is going to be a bigger day. And I know Saturday and Sunday are going to be big times for me. When am I going to get that anticipating of needs of recovery for me? So with that being said, I'd say look at your calendar and not just schedule your non-negotiable workouts, because we know you want to do your workouts if you're on your fitness grind. We know you're probably delegating some meal prep now after listening to this, but where is that time to check in? Recovering your nervous system, whether that's a massage, having a good conversation with a friend, you got to put that in there. And if you don't, what can happen is, let's say it's Wednesday, 10 a.m. I didn't get this. Thursday, Friday, I'm dragging my feet. And a lot of the back end stuff, a lot of the stuff from the previous day blends into the next few days. So being able to have something non-negotiable as a constraint on your calendar, 3 to 7 days, 7 to 14 days, where you sit down and you check in and get some recovery. That's honestly one of the biggest things I put into my schedule that is a non-negotiable for me, Marcos, and it's been something I look forward to every week or so.
Yeah. I mean, I may not write it down, but I do it. It's what my Friday walks, Monday walks are. I center myself on those two. It's 90 minutes to myself. Generally,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll take my podcast off and I'll actually just record some thoughts and
Mm.
things that go on in my brain. It's a million miles a minute right now. There's so many fun things out there that I really want to tackle, problems I see, things I want to solve. None of it actually nets me any money, ironically, but it's just something I really feel passionate about. And that's where I'm headed to. That's where I want to get to. So all the hard work that comes in during my work days, which is every single day, right? I don't feel like I take a day off, and I love it, And I think that's kind of in my eyes that's what a greatness mindset would mean. Speaking to the content of the week,
Yeah.
so maybe we should shift to that. Let's shift to the book. What
Let's
do you
flip
think
to
we
it.
cover?
Let's talk about the greatness mindset, and it's a book that just came out like literally I think the March 12th, March 11th. I'm gonna share my screen here, and I'm a big I'm a big fan of this author. It's Lewis House. All right. So this is Lewis House. He's great. Came out with a new book called The Greatness Mindset. Just came out. What I've enjoyed about this book so far is I'm not even done yet. There are practice prompts in there. It's almost like a Tony Robbins book where it's like he makes you practice the things you're trying to do. How to set up your perfect day. What are the values you're looking for in your life? Where do you want to see yourself? And these prompts, I did some of these practices, and it's been a while since I've done some future writing of like, okay, what does my perfect day look like? What is it do I want to do in this certain time frame? And he goes into it and goes deep, and he asks you questions. What do you fear? Right? And then he'll ask you questions. All right, what kind of fear are you doing? Are you doing a fear of doubt, fear of anxiety, fear of failure, fear of judgment? Why do you feel that way? Who did that come from? Where did that stem from? And it makes you go deep into these topics. And like I'm answering them and I'm finding things out about myself. I'm like, oh, snaps. I did not even know this. And with that being said, the book is a culmination of his podcast, The School of Greatness, 10 years of podcasts. And he is dropping gems in there of people that have been on his podcast, some of the greats, and they're on his podcast, and he'll quote them through the book on each specific topic, whether it's doubt, judgment, fear, being a high tier athlete because he was an Olympic level handball player, played D1 football, was in the pros, all these things. It's just greatness, to be honest. He wants to not only be successful, he wants to be greatness. In his mind, greatness is being able to do everything that he loves, but bringing the people along with him and creating success for them as well, not just himself. And I agree. I don't think you can be successful, but I think it is a very much selfish thing. But if you can take your family with you, your community, those you serve, those you care about, that to me is great. So that's the book. That's the content of the week.
Awesome. Well, I haven't dived into that one yet, so I have nothing to add. But I mean, Lewis House is inspiring in regards to. I think I saw a video of him recently, and it made me realize he's like the biggest thing that I've now become. My team is a media company. In order to get these things out and across, the production level has to be next level, and it's inspiring because I'm like, hey, it's kind of what we're trying to get after here too. So,
Yeah.
I like, shoot, you just got to start with a concept and just try to write it out. And that's why we're a third of the way to our first goal. And hopefully it gains traction. And we look back at episodes like this and like, we kind of sucked, but at least we were just doing it,
100%. Hey, you got to go from suck to okay, from okay to average, average to good, good to great, and then great to inevitable, and then great to inevitable. Well, but talking about being inevitable and being great, man, I want to talk about the icon of the week, and then we can kind of delve into the product of the week because I think we're going to talk about that product. I don't know if we already did this person, but to be quite real with you, I want to do him again just because I've been watching so many movies lately at the movie theaters, and maybe we should do like a Seamus's like top 5 movies, just because I am a movie buff. I'm a Scream fan. I'm a horror flick kind of guy. I'm a drama, romance, whatever it is. But Jonathan Majors, man, I don't know if we already did Jonathan Majors as an icon, but he just came out with Ant-Man. He just came out with Creed 3, and he just came out with a bodybuilding movie. This guy is an absolute unit. I mean, look at his bod, bro. Men's Health photo shoot looks absolutely hidden. And this is 2 guys looking at an image, okay? This is 2 guys looking at an image. I'm just here admiring. Look at this.
I mean, he was like dice to the gills in the photo shoot for sure. But it's nice to see that they have some photos that in there that are like human, not like aliens. Like, but again, too, it's oh man. But again, for the roles that he's playing and being able to kind of shapeshift a little bit and keep himself in that area, like respect. That is awesome. I mean, I haven't seen the new Ant-Man, but is he the villain?
So he's the villain. Yeah, he's Kang. He was also on Loki. Like he plays like this character called Kang, who apparently is like across if you watch, like, if you're a
MCU.
big Marvel fan, he's like across the whole multiverse of things, and he's gonna be the big villain. Which, dude, all the love to Jonathan Majors. He set himself up for a multi-movie show series toy deal. He is gonna be this guy known as Kang, and he's really set himself up for success because Ant-Man was great, but he played one version of that character apparently, and now he's gonna do it for another whatever. Because it's kind of like, what if you guys watched the first phase of Marvel's Phase 1, the Infinity Saga? It's like, oh, we're getting to Thanos. He's gonna be that. He's gonna be that, but across multiple shows. He's gonna be busy, man. He's gonna be super busy. So I want to shout him out. And on top of a busy schedule, whatever he did to get his body in shape, prime time, mad respect, mad respect.
I mean, it's like he does it for a living or something.
It's
like he has to be on screen and be prepared. It's something. I mean, it speaks volumes to, like, hey, your mindset towards those things, your body can respond to where your mind puts it. And he's like, I want to be here. And so everything I do now has purpose. It's part of the reason why, I have to practice a little more self-control with food at times, because you got to look the part when it comes to going into work, and all levels.
Yeah.
So it helps. So dude's like, hey, I mean, I'm going to be disgusting. I'm going to be, I mean, dude, the short photo, it's like, yeah, it was almost like something out of like an 80s cover model, but like with a 2020 version of like a bodybuilding body, like, but not quite. I don't know. It was like 80s meets modern.
What I respect about it though is he did 3 movies back to back that came out all at the same time. So he was shooting those back to back, right? So with that being said, that means, you can have a fitness model, and the fitness model gets ready for the shoot. 90 days, 6 months to get ready for the shoot. He had to get his body, because he was smaller before. If you've seen before and after from, he wasn't that big. So he had a lean frame already, but he built up to it. But then over the course of 3 movies, had to keep the frame, do hours of shoots on doing stunts and doing that stuff. So I think it's a bigger feat than someone just doing like a fitness model shoot. You know what I'm saying? Because he has to do stunts, he has to do acting, he has to know lines, and he has to keep in shape for 3 movies. Damn, bro. And then he did a photo shoot just cause.
So on top, let me just put the cherry on top, boys.
So mad respect. I mean, it is.
I don't think you did get him. I would remember, because that we did not do him as a icon of the week, but I'm aspiring. That's what we're here for. We're trying to aspire to levels like that too, man.
Yeah, we're trying to get shredded like that. Grit to the Bills. Well, let's talk about the last thing.
Work capacity. I'm talking about like the things you actually were, giving him praise for, was the ability to go across many roles and still stay committed to himself.
Yeah, that's important. It's important. So mad respect. So talk about, he must have been delegating all his food and all his stuff.
Sure, he had a team of people, man. Like behind, they say, like, behind every great man is a better woman, and probably behind every great actor is a better team. Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah. Hey, we're training right now. He's like, oh crap. Yeah. Last thing, guys, we're gonna talk about is the product of the week, and we're talking about barefoot minimal shoes. Barefoot minimal shoes, right? So I've got 2. So
I think you should just do one. I think you should do yours. We can save the other one for next time.
Okay.
Just because I want to save the second one, but we'll do the first one.
Save the second one. We're gonna save the second one. We're gonna talk about this shoe right here. It's the Vivos. So we're not affiliated by any way, but maybe one day we'll get that discount code for y'all, 15% off, code MacroPod. I don't know. Hey, you know what? I say it to you here, audience. I say it to you here. It's a promise. That's a promise. It's not a what if, it's a promise. We will get them there, and that will be our freaking discount code. So with that being said, this is the Vivo. I've enjoyed these. I've been wearing this for a month or 2 now. My lady got some. I'm gonna get another pair. I have these ones right here, but the black and white, not just full on black and white. But I am gonna get a pair of these. What I love about them is they're a great work shoe. They fit with anything in terms of style. So you can dress it down, dress it up. And for me, I just wear minimal shoes, but it has a great toe spread. And I can do leg day, I can train in them, I can walk in them, I can hike in them, like in this photo. And, just being honest with you, my feet have never felt stronger. And personally, myself, I've dealt with heel fasciitis just due to some jiu-jitsu and wrestling stuff. And these shoes are doing just fine for me. and they're great. And I'll be honest, just thinking about it right now, my feet, like this is the first time in a while, like compared to my other shoes, where my feet don't feel constricted. I feel like they can move and breathe. And even when I have when I take the shoe off, when you take the shoe off, Marcos, you're like, oh, thank God they're off. Like I'm actually like, I don't have that feeling of
You
like,
want to
oh,
wear
I'm
them
taking
more.
shoes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like they were molded incorrectly. They just feel like, oh, I'm just moving from just taking them off and just moving on with the rest of my day.
Feet's such an interesting one. And the ones that I got, why I want to save it and talk more about it is the fact that the insert does a little something different than I think the Vivos. And I think even by the next podcast, maybe that we do a product of the week that's foot related, and maybe we can actually have a code somehow, even if it's just like, hey, we just want to help a small growing business because Vivo is a little bit bigger now.
They
With
have
it.
gone bigger, yeah.
Yeah, and so actually, the other company, I actually posted a video about them on my story, and they're like, "Hey, we'd love to use this as our advertisement." And I was like, "That's awesome!" And I was like, "They're like, can you take the
How
text
about
off?" I was like, "No, I can't because I posted it to Instagram and didn't save it like a dummy." So I actually made another video for them. They haven't replied back, but hopefully they give like a
let's see if
heart or
we can get
something
that
on it.
discount code. I'll try them out. We'll get a real honest review of
Yeah,
them
because
too.
you
But
have
I
a
love them.
side by side.
Yeah. Yeah. And the feet are important. I think a lot of people forget, like, you spend a lot of time with your feet. And I think they already like debunked this multiple times with women's feet, for example, like wearing heels, or wearing certain shoes that curve the foot. Like your foot gets stuck, your calf gets tight, and then the hamstrings tight, and then women go like, why do I have back problems? It's like,
Right, and
well, you're
then
spending 16
bunions.
hours in a higher heel or bunions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of it, man. It's your feet are your foundation, and being able to like have more proprioception to your feet and attention to it on all of your major lifts is super important. Even like on a bench press, for example, people wouldn't even think about that, but if you can screw your feet in properly and get those 4 points of contact, they still affect the lift, right? Because you can build tension through the lower half. And when I finally figured that out, I was like, oh my god, I feel like I've been missing out on this power all this time. And
Leg drive, man. Leg drive.
so feet, minimalist shoe. I've really wanted to try the Vivos, but these ones that I got that I'm saving, that people listening probably don't know what it is, but you guys can do it. Again, smaller company, and they looked a little more sleek. And so sometimes that's where I'm like,
Little
yeah,
sneaker look. Yeah.
yeah, more like a van kind of fit, kind of appeal, which to me it matters. But I'm like, if it doesn't compromise in any area, because obviously like Vivo is probably more of a even higher performance related shoe. Then I was like, these ones can take my money. And so far, the only thing I haven't done is like a wad in them. So I'll test that out and give some
Test that
additional
out. Yeah.
feedback. And so I feel like that'll be why I want to save mine for a later time.
You know how many? It's crazy. The shoe you have, they very much are Vans look like Vans look like
It's like a
ish. And
dude.
I've done
Yeah.
wads in Vans, and I've done squats in Vans, and I've done workouts in Vans and sprints. I'm gonna have to get that shoe. I'm gonna have to get that shoe. Give it a shot. Give it a try, and see
Yeah.
how that feels too.
Yeah, dude. And again, like I said, the insert, the interesting design there, the fact that there is a more attention, like just even subconsciously on my feet because of what I'm wearing, because of how the insert is it's kind of cool. It's a really interesting concept, and I'm like, will there be benefits in my performance? I mean, honestly, today I did my belt squats with them, and I felt like I didn't even need my lifters. I was like, maybe I'm unlocking some powers in my feet, and I'm excited because more toe splay, more ability to like generate power from the lower half, and I'm just trying to like give my feet a little more TLC these days, not cram them into Nikes and things. And again, I used to get like weird like stingers on the side of my foot because like how tight the meshing was, and I have a fat freaking foot. It's not really
Yeah.
long, but it's definitely fat. So
Yeah.
that's
And we can go into the science of biomechanics of the big toe and like all that jazz. I just honestly, it's just comfort. It's just comfort at the end of the day. Those things are so comfortable. They're still sleekish looking.
Yep.
And I'm not saying you have to wear them all the time. If you want to go out to a
Oh,
party and look cool,
the
but
newer
I think
the
they're
newer
a great
Vivos,
option.
the newer Vivos are honestly, I like a lot of the newer styles they have. So the ones that you have that I've seen you wear, I'm like, I would totally rock those too. But I'm always like, let me go counter. I'm counterculture. Let me get something a little different.
Yeah, me too. I want to try something else out, and we'll see what's going on. But no, I think that makes sense. Hey, take care of your feet, and if you're spending 16 hours in a shoe that's not serving you, try out the Vivos. And as a promise, we will get a discount code for one of these shoes one day. That's my goal. That's my goal.
That's the goal. Well, we're right at the hour mark, dude. So this is like
we're
a
at the hour
perfect.
mark. This is a perfect episode. I hope you guys learned some stuff from the top 3 habits. I know we kind of went into them different ways, but those are my top 3 habits. Anything else for you, Marcos? Anything else that you feel like you want to kind of finish off on?
No, I think it's good. I think hopefully there's a lot of value here. Hopefully people got to thinking about maybe their top 3 things that are helping them move forward, things that they are seeing that's moving them to the next level, and hopefully your high performance habits are something that can continue to resonate to other people. Talk about it a little bit more. Get out there, have a conversation about things that are really helping you. Don't say it like it's. Don't be dogmatic about these are what you absolutely need. But hey, like maybe try this, maybe try that. Just casually talk about it in conversation, because that's all we're doing. We're just saying, hey, we see value here. Maybe others will too.
Yeah. And just as an ask for everyone listening, if you get to this point, we're small podcast, 1/3 of the way to our goal of the 52. If you could please comment below what your thoughts are. Honestly, give us some love. Maybe Oreo method it, positive first, maybe a little critique, and then a little positive at the end. And then if you could share with someone that you love and someone that you can think about that they need to see a different perspective about their fitness, health, and nutrition and longevity overall. And that's what we're trying to get to. Just have a more deeper, nuanced conversation. Hopefully that gives them a different conversation about something they've been struggling with. So please do that for us. We'd love to grow. We'd love to give more. And hopefully one day we can solve bigger problems. But at this point, we're just going to keep growing the audience and keep growing and just impacting as much people as we can. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.